So you were an active white supremacist and a neo-Nazi for 15 years. Can you tell us what led you into that life?
For me, it was just a broken family, a lot of problems at home. I started hanging out in the streets, and a group of older guys found me, started mentoring me in a very negative way.
Del Jensen, a detective with the San Bernardino, California Sheriff's Department, says you were more dangerous than the average gang member because you were very intelligent and had a lot of influence over youngsters. What kind of activities were you organizing?
I was organizing concerts, music festivals. I was giving them a lot of things that kids like, video games, comic books, magazines that had a lot of pretty and attractive girls in it, and it attracted a lot of the young men.
Why did you hate?
Well, looking back on it now, I think I hated out of just ignorance. Back then, I believed I hated because I had a cause. I believed that the federal government was evil, along the same lines as Timothy McVeigh and other nationalists and extremists.
Why'd you hate black people, Hispanic people?
I hated minorities a lot of times because I didn't understand their culture, their background, and I think in a lot of ways they were our rivals. We, in a gang mentality, they were the enemy, along with law enforcement.
More than a decade ago, you left that life. Can you tell us why?
I left the life because I started seeing my children becoming me. 15 years ago today, when Oklahoma happened, I got a phone call from one of my friends saying that my now ex-wife had an early birthday present. When I started seeing the initial reaction of the bombing, I was kind of pleased back then. But then I started seeing the different things. I saw the picture of the firefighter holding the young child, and I had a son at that time who was only 14 months old, and that kind of was another one of my wake-up calls, I would say.
Yeah. TJ, last month, 9 members of a Michigan group called the Hutari, I know you know this story,
yes,
were arrested for plotting to kill police officers. We are also seeing a lot of hate speech in public gatherings of various groups across the country. I'm not going to single anyone out here.
Yeah.
Can you give us some insights from your experience back in the day? What pushes these people from talking to plotting to action?
I think what happens is you get people in a lot of different fields. We just had a bunch of kids arrested, not only the 9, we had some kids arrested with a group called the White Wolves. Some of the members were military members. But you get the rhetoric, and you get people who end up going to, and I'm not trying to single anybody out either, but you get people who go to the Tea Party protests, and you get people to go to the militia gatherings, you get people to go to white supremacy gatherings, and they keep hearing the same rhetoric over and over and over. The government's evil, the government's wrong, the government's overtaxing us, the government's taking everything away from us. And then you get those people inside who say, you know what, I need to become the next George Washington, I need to become the next Thomas Jefferson, the next, revolutionary, and so they feel that the only way to do it is through an armed struggle. And sometimes, the gray line is when you go to these rallies, you hear that stuff about, we can't vote our way out of this anymore. We have to react, and some people actually take that call to action.
How much of what you've just described would you say is exacerbated by the fact that we have an African American president?
I think it's a lot more exacerbated. I think the thing with President Obama being in office, I think a lot of people look at that as, especially in the white supremacy movement, as a slap in the face to America, and they look at it as a potential problem. His presidency isn't going overly great; it's not going overly bad. So they're kind of in the middle. They're kind of angry at the fact that they don't know which direction to go.
How big a threat in your mind are these groups?
I think they're a giant threat. I mean, today is the 15th anniversary of 168 people who were killed, over 600 who were wounded. They pose a giant threat to society. I think they pose a threat to race relations in this country, which are making great grounds. I mean, we have a biracial president. 40 years ago in this country, his mother and father could have been killed for walking down the streets in some parts of our country. Today, that's not the case. I think we have a long way to go, but I think these groups are highly dangerous.
What can be done to sort of, in your view, fight the messages of hate that, frankly, you were a part of years and years ago, but have since turned away from?
Well, I go out and give lectures across the United States at colleges, military, law enforcement. I think the thing is education. I think teaching kids when they're younger what makes them similar to each other. I think as they get older, teaching kids to embrace each other's diversity. And what makes this country great is the fact that we aren't just one group of people, that we're a collage of many people.
T.J. Lydon. Good stuff. Thank you, sir.